Hey YouTube family and friends, welcome back to Photon Rookie. This is video number 43. Today we're going to process the Orion Nebula from front to back since it's back in our skies now. We're also going to try a technique to expose the core so that you can clearly see the trapezium. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, serial's open and we have the unstretched image of M42, the Orion Nebula up here. This is unstretched, consisting of 5,009 10-second subs stacked in serial from the Seestar S50. So let's go ahead and auto stretch the image and have a look at it. Just come down here to this button here where it says linear. I'm going to click on it and select auto stretch, and there now we see our auto stretched image of M42 and the data we have to work with. So M42 is such a bright object that 5,000 subs gives you a lot of information. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do photometric color calibration. So if you come up here to image processing and come down to color calibration, this is what we want to use here, the photometric color calibration, but as you can see, it's grayed out. It's not available to us yet. What we have to do first is go to Tools, come down to Astrometry, select Image Plate Solver, come over here and make sure that the data points were loaded in and click OK. And it's that fast. So the image is plate solved now. So now when we go up to image processing, come down to color calibration, now spectrophotometric color calibration is available. So we'll go ahead and click on that. This box will open up. You want to make sure in this box next to OCS sensor, you want the S50 selected. And since we used the LP filter when we imaged this with the Seestar, you want to make sure that the ZWO Seestar LP is selected also. If you do the drop down box, you see there's lots of options. So just make sure you have the correct one selected there. Then we come down here and click OK, and this will be correctly color calibrated. So you'll get this little nerdy box up here for nerds. I don't use it. It's a plot of the, it's a white balance summary. What I do is I just go ahead and close this box and I save the image. Now we can come up here and look at the image before we use the spectrophotometric color calibration by hitting this back arrow. You can see it looks greenish there. We haven't taken the green noise out yet. We'll do it later. But if we go to the color corrected one, you can see right there it gives it a truer color, or what's considered to be a truer color. So again, we just make sure that we save our result. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the stars. So I come up to image processing. I come down to star processing. I select StarNet star removal. This box will open up. Just hit execute, and serial will remove the stars from the image. And as I'm sure most of you know, we remove the stars so that we can work on the nebula separately without affecting our stars, because stars are really, really easy to screw up. Okay, there we have our starless image. I want to go ahead and save that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to run this image through GraXpert. Now this newer version of serial has GraXpert on board. You can find it by going to scripts and Python scripts, processing, and here it is right here. You click on that and it'll open up an onboard GraXpert box. However, I'm going to do something different. This may be a little bit controversial, but I've found that in almost every case that when I use the onboard GraXpert with serial, it produces a subpar result compared to using the external GraXpert program. In other words, the external GraXpert program does a much better job with the image. Now that may be a user error on my part, but I'm seeing that result consistently. So based on what I've seen in my own processing, I'm going to use the external GraXpert. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a TIFF file. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come up here to this little down save arrow, click on that. I'm going to choose TIFF, and I'm going to come up here to desktop, And I'm going to find my YouTube work folder, which is right here. And I have a little folder called TIFF holder right here. That's where I'm going to park my TIFF files. Now, you can make a folder anywhere you want to and name it anything you want to hold your TIFF files, just as long as you know where it is. So I'm going to click on TIFF folder, and I'm going to hit save. And you have to hit save one more time. Now, in this case, it's going to say that this image is not linear. It's not, because we haven't stretched it yet. So it's just reminding you of that when this window opens up. And yes, we want to save anyway. So what I just did, I just turned this FITS file into a TIFF file. You can run a FIT file through GraXpert right out of the Seestar work file. But again, I found that I get better results if I turn it into a TIFF folder and run it through that way. That's just me. You can try it both ways and see if you get the same result. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open up GraXpert, the external program. I'm going to go to Load Image, and we're going to go to Desktop. We're going to go to my YouTube work folder right here, and my TIFF holder, which is right here. And there's my starless image. I'm going to click on that, and it'll load it into GraXpert right here. It'll do an auto stretch on it. And there it is. So now we're going to come down here. You don't want to do any cropping after you've removed the stars. The reason for that is if you crop this starless image and then later you try to marry it back to the star mask, you won't be able to do it because they'll be two different sizes. So in this workflow, never use the crop in GraXpert. We want to come down to background extraction, hit that little plus sign. Since I've got a lot of data in this image with 5,000 subs, I just take the smoothing all the way up to 1.0 on this bar and calculate background. So that didn't take long. It just extracted the background. If you want to have a look at what it extracted, you can come up here to this little drop down, select background, and this light gradient is what was just removed from the image. And you can see these lines that look like lines on a topographical map. They were taken out of the image too. So let's go back to gradient corrected. The next thing we're going to do in GraXpert is denoise. So we're going to come down here to this plus button next to denoising. Select it, and then just select denoise image. Again, I put it full strength, 1.0, and you can see the progress bar here. Okay, denoising is done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to save the image. Let's come down here to this plus next to save and hit save processed. And it's going to save it in our TIFF holder folder right there. So hit save. Now we're done with GraXpert. So the next thing we want to do, let's go to our TIFF holder folder. And you can see that it saved, GraXpert saved our starless image with a little GraXpert word at the end of the file. That's how you tell the difference between it and the one before you sent it through. In fact, for housekeeping, we can go ahead and just erase the old starless image, just delete it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open GIMP. And what we're going to do is we're going to use GIMP to turn that GraXpert file, which is a TIFF image, we're going to turn it back into a FITS image and put it back in serial so we can stretch it. So the way we do that with GraXpert is we come up here to File, we're going to Open, we're going to go to Desktop, we're going to come down to my YouTube work folder right here. And there's my TIFF holder. And right here is our starless file that we ran through GraXpert. I'm going to click on that. Hit open. And it's open there. We're not going to do anything in it with GIMP now. We're just going to turn it back into a FITS file and put it back in serial. So the way we do that is we come up here, select File. We're going to come down to Export As. We're going to come down here to select File Type. And we're going to select Flexible Image Transport System, which is what FITS file stands for. So select that. Now I'm going to put it back in my serial work folder, which I keep that on my D drive here. And then I scroll until I find my serial work folder. It's right here. I click on that. Then I hit export. And now this unstretched image is back in serial. So we're going to go back to serial. And we're going to open the image we just sent through GraXpert. It's right here. You hit open, this box will open up and you'll see it right here. It'll have the word GraXpert at the end of it. You want to select that. And now it's loaded in. Sometimes when you load the GraXpert processed image back in to serial before you stretch it and you've got it on auto stretch, it'll kind of have a funky look to it. That's okay. Don't panic. It's normal. What you want to do next is you want to come down here to where it says auto stretch and you want to put it back in linear. Okay, now we're ready to stretch it. So here's where the fun begins. Everybody wants to know how to expose the core of the trapezium, and we're going to do that. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use layering in GIMP. What we have to do is we have to generate 2 different layers of this image, and this is how we're going to do it. So we're going to come up here to image processing. We're going to come down to stretches. I'm going to choose generalized hyperbolic stretch transformation, and we're going to start stretching the image. You can see even before we start stretching, there's that little grouping of stars in the trapezium, and that's what we want to try to bring out in the final image. So let's go ahead and start stretching. You just want to grab this stretch bar and do it a little bit at a time. Hit apply. You can see we're already coming out. Now, one thing you can do when you're stretching, you can put a little box out in these dimmer areas, and the symmetry point will be changed in the stretch so that it's putting more emphasis on some of these dimmer areas, because you want to bring them out a little bit faster than you do the bright areas. So I just put a little box there, and the way you change the symmetry point is you come to this little dropper and click on it one time, and you see the symmetry point changed a little bit right there. So let's go ahead and continue stretching, and we'll stretch out a little bit more. Now you can see, and you hit apply after each stretch, you can see that you can still see the little stars in the trapezium. They're pretty clear. That's what we're trying to preserve. So let's click in this box to get rid of that little box we made. Let's make sure that we hit apply. Let's close this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to image processing, and we're going to go to stretches again. This time, instead of selecting generalized hyperbolic stretch transformations, we're going to select curves transformations. And let's see if we can bring some of this outer area out a little bit while still preserving those visible stars inside the trapezium there. So here's, this box will open up when you open up curves. So what you can do is to lower the light level in here so it doesn't wash out. Put your little point about right here on this line, click on it, bring it down a little bit, and then come down here lower on the line, click and put you a little point on it and drag that up a little bit. You can see what we're doing is we're trying to bring out some more of this outer area without losing the visibility of those stars in the center there. So I like the way that looks. Let's go ahead and hit apply, and let's do it again. And you have to be careful when you do curves. We'll take it a little bit too far on purpose just so you can kind of see what happens to the image. Right now we're looking good though, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the point up here, draw it down a little bit to dim this out some. I'm going to come down here on this part of the curve, put a point and take it up a little bit. And you can see it's looking pretty good there. I kind of like that, so I'm going to apply that. And then let's do it again. Let's come up here, let's put another point. Let's bring this down a bit, put another point, bring this up a bit. And let me take it up too far and you can kind of see what goes on. You kind of start washing out any detail you have in here, just kind of graze it out. So you don't want to take it too far. And conversely, when you come up here with this point, put our 2 points back. And you take this up down too far, it also grays out. So you want to keep as much structure in here as you can, because this is the layer we're making now that you're going to expose to in the main image to show the trapezium. So let's go ahead and reset it. I think that's about as far as we want to go in curves. So make sure we hit apply and close this box. So let's go back up to image processing again. Go back to stretches. Let's go back to generalized hyperbolic stretch transformations and open it up. Come over here and choose humid weighted luminance. And again, let's put our little box out here in some of this dimmer area and hit our little stopper to change our symmetry point. And let's stretch it out a little more, see what we can do here. Okay. All right, that doesn't look too bad. One thing we want to do, we're starting to pick up a little bit of a gray cast in the image. Make sure you hit apply to save that result. And to get rid of this gray cast, we want to come up here to type of stretch, hit the down arrow. We want to come down here to linear black point shift, and we want to move this spike to the left as much as we can without getting a value in this clip right here, in this clip percentage right here. So I'm going to use, instead of using the slide bar, I'm going to use a fine adjust. I'm going to keep hitting the plus button until I see a value right here. Then I'll back it up one. So I just clicked at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, now I've got a value there. So I'll back it up one. There you go. And hit apply. And you can see our image is darker around here. Okay, now I'm going to stop at this point. This is an important step. What we're going to do is we're going to save this. This is going to be one of our layers that we're going to use to bring the trapezium out in the final image. So what we're going to do, make sure you hit apply, close this box, save your result here. Now we're going to come over here to this save button, and we're going to save this image as a TIFF. So you come down here and hit that and select TIFF. It just changed it to a TIFF file. And I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename this Layer 2, because this is what it is. It's going to be our second layer when we go to combine it with the first layer. So Layer 2 TIFF, and we want to save this in our TIFF folder. So we go to Desktop, find my YouTube work folder. It's right here. Find our TIFF holder right there and hit Save. And save again. Okay, now this image is saved. Now we can go ahead and finish the stretch for the rest of the image, and we don't have to worry so much about blowing the core out at this point because we've got it saved on our other layer where you can see those little stars in the trapezium. Okay, so let's come up here to image processing. Come down to stretches. We're going to go back to generalized hyperbolic stretch transformations. This box opens up. We want to go to human weighted luminance. Let's put our box out here again for our symmetry point. Click the dropper, and let's do a series of stretches now to bring the rest of the nebula out. Remember, each time you stretch, just hit apply. You can see that we're starting to get quite a bit of structure to come out now. Let's get rid of our little box right here that we used for the symmetry point just by clicking anywhere in the image. Let's come up here and hit logarithmic scale. A perfect stretch would be this line going up and then coming down at a 45-degree angle. You can see we're above that. If you take it back to where it is straight down, in this case, you would be missing a lot of this structure around the nebula. So it's not always a perfect indication of a perfect stretch, but I do think that we have stretched this far enough. Let's uncheck logarithmic. Now, if you notice, we picked up a little space to the left of our spike. We want to get rid of that. So make sure we hit apply to save the result we've got here. Let's go back up here to type of stretch, come down to linear stretch black point shift again, and move this slider until we move this spike to the left where there's no space, or until we get a clip percentage here. So we got a clip percentage. I'll back off of it using the minus button here on the fine adjustment until we see it drop back to 0, and there we are. Hit apply, close. Okay, I think that's as far as we want to stretch the image right now. So what you want to do is you want to save it. Now we're going to save this image as a TIFF file. Come up here to the Save button, come down here to Supported File, save it as a TIFF file, and we're going to save it on our desktop, back in my YouTube work folder, and in my TIFF holder, and hit Save, and save again. So there we go. So now we're just going to go to our TIFF holder file, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open GraXpert. All right, now we're going to load our layers in, and we're going to use masking to expose the trapezium in M42. Here's how we do it. We're going to come up here to File, Open. We want to choose Desktop. Let's come down to my YouTube work folder, and we're going to go to our TIFF folder, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load in layer number 2. There we go, there it is. Now let's go ahead and load our first layer in. We do the same thing. Go to File, Open as Layers, and we're already in our TIFF folder, so we'll choose the starless GraXpert that we made, and we'll hit Keep. Now that's loaded. So this is loaded on top of layer 2. So to make it easier to see, let's go up here to View, Zoom, and Fit Image in Window. All right, now we are going to erase the top of the layer and reveal the bottom layer underneath where we can see the stars in the trapezium. So the way we do that is we have to make a mask. So we come up here and select Layers. We come down, select Mask, select Add Layer Mask, and hit Add. You'll see that a white box opened up next to layer 1 over here. That's what you want to see. Now we have to make sure that these two boxes are black. If they're not, if there's some other color, white or whatever, you want to click on them and come up here and select black and hit OK and make sure they're both black. Once they're black, you want to choose this eraser button. And one thing I found through trial and error, that a large size eraser looks better. It blends your masking in better than if you use a little tiny small eraser and try to pepper it in. This just works better, and you'll see what I mean. You can see that that dotted circle around the crosshairs there, that's actually the size of the eraser. So what we're going to do is and you can adjust the eraser size over here on this slide bar. So I got it about where I want it. So let's go ahead and put it about where the trapezium is, and let's wipe out the top layer so we can see the bottom layer under it. And we just do a series of clicks. And there you go. So I had 3 clicks, and you can see the stars in the trapezium. I want to hit a few more because I want this structure here to be a little bit more defined. So we'll line up over that structure and do a couple of clicks. And that came out pretty good. And I would like for these little stars to be more apparent. So we'll do a couple more clicks. And there we go. Maybe here real quick. Okay. It's that simple. So there's your trapezium area exposed. Also, these stars are well known for being bloated on M42. This is the halo left behind after we took the stars out. You can also go ahead and mask those. So I would like to come in a little bit tighter on them because I don't want to come out and start masking this structure that we managed to pick up here. So come up here to brush size, bring it on down. This ought to do pretty good. Just put your crosshairs directly on it, hit it a few times, and you can see it reducing in size there. Do the same thing here. Doesn't that look much better than that big, huge bloated star? I think it does. And if you ever go too far, it looks like you're taking something out around it, you can always come up here and hit the back arrow. All right, that's a big improvement. All right, I like what we have there. Actually, let me increase the size of the brush. Come up here one more time. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. You don't want to wipe too much of this out because you want to preserve some of this structure. You don't want to make it look too bland. I think that looks pretty good. We can work with that. So now we have to join the two layers together. Right now, layer 2 and layer 1 are still two separate layers. You just punched through layer 1 to see layer 2 under it. Now we're going to merge them into one image. So the way we do that is we come down to this little icon right here. You click it one time. Now it's one image. All right. So now we can actually, in GIMP, let's see if we can adjust the color and bring out some of the structure a little more now. So we come up here and choose colors. Let's take a look at saturation first. So you hit saturation, this box opens up. You come over to this scale, and you can use this slider to increase it. I mean, you can go crazy with it where it looks terrible, or you can take it all the way down to a black and white image. Let's reset it where it was and maybe take it up just a tiny bit. I think that looks pretty good there. I want to be conservative because if we saturate it too much, we may lose some structure in it. So I like that. So let's hit OK. Now let's come back up to colors again, and let's choose shadows and highlights. The shadows bar here is a good tool to bring out some of the wispiness of this outlying nebula, and you'll see what I mean as I come up here and start sliding this to the right. Yeah, you can see it coming into view quite a bit. You could definitely take it too far. I mean, there's a lot out there, but if you bring it all out, you're really going to sacrifice your image quality. So we'll probably take it to about, I think about there looks pretty good. You can also come down here and adjust your white point. This can have a profound effect on images for good or bad. If you take it all the way down, you can see it kind of dims the image. You take it up, it's a little bit like shadows. It will illuminate some of the hidden structure, but you don't want to go too far with it. I think probably that looks pretty good. Then we come here to highlights. Highlights might help with that central area a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit washed out there. You bring it in about halfway, and it starts revealing a little bit more of the structure here. So I like the way that looks too. Okay, our stars look a little bit strange here. They should be better. I'll take green noise out later. I got a halo around this one. We'll see what we can do to deal with that later in the processing. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to hit OK. Now you can also sharpen this image by going over here to filters, coming down to enhance, and coming down and hitting sharpen. It also has a denoise function, but I have found through trial and error that I don't initially want to sharpen in GIMP. I want to leave the sharpening alone and send it through a program called AstroSharp first. So that's actually what we're going to do next. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this image. So I go to File, I go to Export As, and I'm just going to hit Export. And what we're doing is we're saving it back over the old GraXpert image that was in the TIFF folder. It's okay, that's what we want to do, so you can hit Replace and hit Export again. Okay, that's saved, so we can now close GIMP, hit Discard Changes, and now we want to open AstroSharp. So here's AstroSharp. So we've got really good signal to noise ratio on this M42 image because we have 5,000 fit files. The more fit files you have, the better AstroSharp works. If you've only got about 1,000 fit files, don't even bother using AstroSharp because it'll actually make your image look worse. But if you've got 1500 or more, AstroSharp can really work wonders. So since we've got a lot, I'm going to take this aggressiveness bar, run it all the way up. This PSF for the deep space object, I'm going to run it all the way up. We don't really have any stars in the image, so I'm not worried about that slider. This chunk size doesn't matter. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have full image checked right here. And for the choose model, you want to make sure you choose second beta. I've actually tried all of these. Second beta works the best by far. Don't ask me why, just trust me and take my word for it. Now we're going to go grab the image. We're going to browse. We're going to go to our desktop. We're going to go to our YouTube work folder, our TIFF holder, and now this is really important what I'm about to tell you. When we finished earlier in GIMP and fused our two images together, the image defaulted and became layer 2. In fact, you could just get rid of this starless image right here, both of them, and we'll clean that up in a minute. But just remember, you're working with layer 2. That's your final image after the two images were fused together in GIMP. So we're going to click on layer 2. It's going to load in this sample box, and there it is. It's in black and white and grayed out. Don't worry about it. That's not important. So now, making sure that second beta is chosen, full image is chosen, and we've got our sliders where we want them. You just hit update sliders, and now AstroSharp will do its thing sharpening the image. Okay, we're about to get our result right here, and there it is. Let's go ahead and download it into our TIFF holding folder. And hit save. We can go ahead and close AstroSharp, and let's go to our TIFF holder folder. Open it. Now AstroSharp saved the image as processed, and here it is right here. First thing I want to do is I want to rename that. Just right click on it, come down here and select rename and put a number 1 in front of it, and then that's what it's called now. The reason I do that is when we have to take the starless or the star mask and run it through AstroSharp also, and it's going to name it processed. This just keeps you from having to deal with it naming that processed over the old processed. You just rename it. You don't have to worry about it. You have to send the starless image or the star mask image through AstroSharp if you send your starless image through. If you don't send them both through, you won't be able to put the stars back in the image when the time comes. So let's have a look at it. Let's just open it up and take a look. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll open the old image up also before we sent it through, and hopefully this translates okay on YouTube. So the processed image is on the right and the unsharpened image is on the left. I can tell a huge difference. This is unsharpened, this is sharpened. Again, if you have a lot of whole lot of fit files and good signal to noise ratio, AstroSharp does really good. So that's beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and keep that. Let's go ahead and go back to our folder. So we can go ahead and do some housekeeping. I'm going to delete the old sharpened image, the old starless image, and I'm going to delete the old starless image. And we're just left with our processed image, which is where we are now. Okay, so we can now go back and open GIMP back up. Coming down to the wire now. Go to File, Open, Desktop. Going to go back to our YouTube work folder and TIFF folder, and we're going to select the one processed. And boom, there's our image loaded in. Again, just to see it better, let's go to View, Zoom, Fit Image in Window. Okay, let's see if we can do a little bit of adjustment in GIMP before we send this back to Cyril. Go up to colors again. Let's take a look at saturation again. You can move it You can see you can really get really oversaturated quick. Let's reset it and bring it up just a tiny bit. All right. That looks pretty good to me. It may be too much for some of you, maybe not enough, but it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? So let's do that. Let's come back up to colors again. Let's take a look at shadows and highlights one more time. Maybe we can coax a little bit more of that. It's just pretty awesome how much is actually going on around the Orion Nebula. I kind of like that. Look how much structure that's brought out. We can mess around with the highlights and the white point adjustment here. I don't want to do too much. I think that looks pretty awesome there. We'll leave highlights alone. Well, let's take highlights down. See, highlights actually brings a little bit more structure out of that core. You can see it changing right here. Watch this area. As I move the highlight slider around, you can pretty much go too far in either direction. I kind of like bringing a little bit of that darkness in because it opens up a little bit more structure. So yeah, that looks good there. So let's hit OK. So I am going to take green noise out eventually, but I think I'm going to try to help this strange color cast on these stars down here. I'm going to go up here and to these boxes for the eraser, and I'm going to choose white. Hit OK and choose white. Hit OK. Both boxes are white. I'm going to choose the eraser. This time I'm going to work with a fairly small brush size. I don't want to overstep my bounds here. I'm going to go right over that star and see if I can take some of that coloration out of it a little bit. Let me go a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Again, we'll deal with it when we get to the green noise. I have trouble with stars. That's my weakness in this. I've still got a lot to learn on that, even after all this time. We'll go ahead and keep it like that for now. So I like the way the image looks. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this image and we're going to put it back in Serial. The way we do that is we come up here to File. We come down here to Export As. We're going to come down here to File Type, and we're going to turn it back into a FITS file. And here it is, Flexible Image Transport System. I'm going to come up here to the D drive, which is where my Serial home work folder is. I'm going to find it and click on it, and I'm going to hit Export. And it's back in Serial. So now we can go ahead and close GIMP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Serial. And you can see in Serial what our image looked like before we went out through GIMP and AstroSharp. I'll load the new image over it now, and you can see the difference. This part of it's pretty fun. One processed is their new image. So watch it when I load it over it, and you can see the difference our processing has made. There you go. Quite a difference. Whole lot's been revealed there. So what we want to do next is we need to do our stars. So let's open. Let's come down and choose our star mask. And here's our unstretched stars. Stars are easy to stretch. You just come up here to image processing. You come down to stretches, generalized hyperbolic stretch transformations. This box will open up. I just hit clip. You want to choose under type of stretch, modified arcsine transform. And you want to choose humid weighted luminance, and I just take it up to around 7.5 and just apply it there. Hit apply, close, save it. I've got a lot of coloration in these stars. I don't necessarily like that. So before I send this off to be sharpened, I'm going to come up here to image processing, come down to color saturation, hit clip again. I'm going to leave this on global and color saturation, and as I bring this slider down, you'll see some of these colors drain out of the stars and they become more of a neutral color. You can leave a little bit of color in it, I just like for the stars to be fairly close to white, and that's good enough. You hit apply, you hit save, you come here to the upload button, click on that. You're going to change it into a TIFF file. You're going to come over to desktop. I'm going to come down to my YouTube work folder, go back into the TIFF holder and save it there and hit save again. All right, now we can go back to our YouTube work folder and we're going to open AstroSharp again. So just a word about AstroSharp. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to get it to open. Sometimes it opens right away. Other folks have told me they deal with the same thing. You see, this time it didn't open. I just got a white screen, so you just click on it again. So don't panic if it takes a couple times for it to open. It's just a little bit cantankerous that way. All right, so it opened this time. So let's go ahead and maximize it. Now the stars, we don't need nearly as much sharpening. I wouldn't even run the stars through AstroSharp if I didn't have to. Remember, we have to because you won't be able to put them back in the nebula image if you don't run it through AstroSharp. So bring the aggressive slider way on down, the PSF for the stars way on down, and for the deep space object you can zero it out. Be sure to click full image. Come over here to model, make sure you select second beta, hit browse, find your star mask image right here, load it. As soon as it's loaded in this box right here, you hit update sliders. And you'll see the progress bar open up down here. All right, here it is, the sharpened image. We just hit download the processed file and hit save. Then we can close AstroSharp. What we want to do now is we want to open GIMP up. And we want to open the starless image that we just sharpened. So we come down to open, to our desktop. Come down to my YouTube work folder. And the TIFF holder. And it's called processed. So that's what AstroSharp names it when it sharpens it. So you want to click on that. It'll open up right here in GIMP. We don't need to do anything to it. All we're going to do is turn it back into a FITS file and put it back in Serial so we can put it back in the image with the nebula. So we come up here to File and want to come down to Export As. We're going to select the file type. Remember, we turn it back into a FITS file. And we're going to go back to my D drive where my Serial home work folder is. And it's right there. And hit Export. Now we can close GIMP. Let's open Serial back up. Let's go ahead and open our processed nebula. Remember, it's called one processed. Just for the heck of it, let's hit remove green noise. Maybe it'll help these stars a little bit. So we'll come over here to image processing, choose remove green noise, hit apply, and it helped it a little bit. These stars aren't perfect. I can probably go back later and try to work on them, but for the sake of this tutorial, this is live. You're going to see all the blemishes and all. So we'll just go ahead and leave them the way they are. Maybe I can help it out here in just a little bit doing something else. So hit close. You want to save your result. All right, now we're going to put the stars back in the image. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to come up to image processing. We're going to come down to, no, let's do something else first. We've got a new Python script called, I think it's HDR. Let's come up here to scripts and have a look at it. Come down to Python scripts, over to processing. Here it is, HDR multiscale. This is a new script that can really make your image pop. We're going to see if it helps our image or not. We can always back it out if it doesn't, but let's go ahead and try this HDR multiscale and see what happens. So this box will open up. It's just run script. You'll have a progress bar down here, and we can back it up back and forth, and you can kind of have a look at it, see if you think it helped any or not. Okay, this box is going to open up. We want to maximize it. You want to come up here and hit fit to preview. So here's our image in the box. Now, I usually go with the default that they have here. You can move these sliders around and get some wildly different results. But I'm going to leave it like that. And let's see. You hit preview and watch the image when I hit the preview button here. And let's see if the script helps it. Okay. You can see it definitely sharpened things up a bit. I think it did it too much. So let's go back to original. And I've learned when I take these sliders up, it does less of an effect. So let's take both of them up and try it again. Hit preview. Okay. That was better. Let's look at original again. Come back and hit preview. Show original. I'm going to take it up a little bit more. I want a little bit more of a subtle effect. So hit preview. All right, I kind of like that. You see how some of these structures have showed up in here? I like that. It kind of gave it a deeper look. You can look at the original. See how it's kind of washed out in gray? Now let's reapply the HDR script to it. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to keep that. So if you want to keep it, this little apply to serial buttons where you do that. Once you click this, it applies it to your image in serial. A box will open up here that'll tell you it applied successfully. So hit OK. All right, we can X out of this. Now, I've noticed a little quirk here. When you go back to serial, your image is blacked out. The only way I can get it to come back is to go to image processing and go to stretches and open up the stretch box again. And it comes back. Then you can close it. Some of you may know a better way to do that, but that's just the way I found that brings it back. So here's the image back with the HDR script applied to it. So now we're going to put the stars back in. So let's come up here to image processing, star processing, star recomposition. It's going to say you're going to close the current image. So, that's just in case you were working on something here and you hadn't saved your result yet. It gives you one last chance to save it. So we're going to hit yes. And this box is going to open up. The left side's your nebula. The right side will be for your stars. So we're going to come to this little folder icon here. Click on it. And we're going to do one processed, which is our nebula. There it is open. Now we're going to come to this side. We're going to go to this folder icon, click on it, and we're going to grab the processed image, which is our stars that went through AstroSharp. Click on it, and boom, there they are. So I always like to use this black point on the stars side and take it down just a bit. Now you can take it way down actually, but I'm going to take it down probably to about there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm not happy with the bloated stars. I'll probably go back and work on those later. But if any of you had ideas on how I can handle that better, put it in the comments, because you never start learning on this. You never do. So you can also, I'm happy with the way the stars look there, so I'm going to hit apply. We can also mess around with the nebula a little bit. You can actually do a little more stretching on it if you want to. I think we're washing it out too much there. You can bring the black point up just a little bit, which sometimes helps an image. You can see what it's doing. It's darkening everything around it. I think just a little bit of black point might help out there. Doesn't look too bad. So we'll hit apply and close. So one more thing we can do, and this might help or not help our image, is use a Python script called Cosmic Clarity. So we'll do that next. So you come up here to scripts, come down to Python scripts, processing. Here's Cosmic Clarity. We're going to try to sharpen it a little bit more. Let's see what it does. Let's hit run script. So I'm gonna have it do both stellar and non-stellar, just for the heck of it. Leave all these checked, and I'm going to leave it on the default settings, and let's see what happens. So here's the image as it stands. Let's apply cosmic clarity sharpening to it and see how it does. And this takes a little bit of time. It'll come up on the progress bar down here. And we can switch back and forth so you can see what effect it had on it. Okay, it had quite an effect on it. Doesn't look too bad. Let's go ahead and close it, and let's try cosmic clarity noise reduction on it. First of all, let's look at the before and after. Here's before cosmic clarity. Here's after. Here's before cosmic clarity. Here's after. Let's go ahead and run the cosmic clarity noise reduction script. So scripts, Python script, processing, cosmic clarity denoise, and run the script. And I just usually leave the default and just hit apply. Okay, that finished. So let's take a look at the before denoising, before cosmic clarity. Let's go back and look at cosmic clarity, and let's look at denoising. You know, that really doesn't look bad, but I think I prefer the image without cosmic clarity. It sharpens it up nicely, but there's without cosmic clarity. There's with cosmic clarity. When you use cosmic clarity, you start picking up what I call scalloping in the image. It's almost like false structures. So we're going to just not use cosmic clarity this time. I could probably mess with the sliders and make it more subtle, but I honestly think our image looks good enough without it. So what we're going to do is we're going to save this image, and I'm going to save it as a PNG file. I save all my images as PNGs because PNG files hold 4 to 5 times more image data than a JPEG does. You just get a better, nicer image. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this. Let's see. We'll rename this M42 tutorial. This is the tutorial version, and I'm going to save it just to keep things simple. I'm going to save it in my TIFF holding folder so we can look at it there and do a little bit more to it. I got my YouTube work folder, TIFF holder, and let's go ahead and save the image there. Okay, we're done with Cyril now. Let's go to our TIFF holder folder. Here is our final image right here. Okay, now that the stars are back in it, you can do any, let's go ahead and maximize it. You can do any cropping or anything that you would want to do at this point. Also, we can go up here to edit. Now, we all have these onboard editors in our computers. Yours may be a little bit different, but they're all pretty much the same. You go to the adjustment section here, and you've got these categories that you can change: highlight, shadows, saturation. I always start with sharpness to see if I can manually sharpen it just a little bit more without ruining it. You got to be careful when you're sharpening with stars in, because when you sharpen your stars too much, you start getting the black rings around them. I'll take it up to where you see that. And you can kind of see it now. The stars have black rings around them, so let's go back to neutral. And I could probably take it up just a little bit. There we go. That looks really nice. Also, saturation, we can play around with it a little bit. I go just a little bit up and it starts becoming way oversaturated. Go back to neutral. I tell you, I think that the image is colorful enough already. Vignette comes in handy if you have rotation noise or some other kind of noise in the color of your image. You can slide Vignette up and it darkens the corners. In this image, we don't need it. Shadows is just like shadows before in GIMP. You slide it up and it starts exposing some of those outer structures out there, all that wispiness and nebulosity. I think that it takes away some of the richness from the main image if you go up too much on that. So I'm thinking we can go up a little bit, maybe right there. That looks good. So highlights, we can check it out. Highlights will really burn out your core there. If you take it too far down the other way, it just kind of dulls it. This is so subjective. I mean, you know, watch this area right here, and you can see what highlights are doing as we move it back and forth. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it right there. I took it up a little bit. Contrast can help your image sometimes. And you slide it to the right, it kind of darkens the image a bit if you think it's too gray. Of course, you can go too far with it in both directions. There's neutral. I'm thinking maybe... right there. I think that's done. I'm disappointed in these bloated stars. I'll probably do this image over again at some point. And like I say, if any of you have any suggestions for me to work on this, I am all ears. I'm also all ears for any criticism you have. I've learned a lot from my subscribers. This hobby is a lot of fun. Isn't this hobby a lot of fun? I mean, it's like when you get your units, when you get your fit files stacked in Serial or anywhere else, and you go to look at that stacked file, it's just like when you were a kid opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You don't know what you're going to get till you actually see it. But there you are. There's your trapezium exposed. It takes a little bit of practice, but you'll get it in no time. I think everybody should be able to bring out the trapezium and not have that nuclear furnace all blown out there in the middle of the image. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. If I missed something or there's something I can do better, let me know. This is Jim at the Photon Rookie channel. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my channel. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers now, and I appreciate all of you that have subscribed. If you have any suggestions for future videos, send them my way and we'll get them made. Anyway, clear skies to all of you, and thanks again.